It's Tuesday. It's your girl CandiKlynn.
And your boy ShawTime Shaw.
And it's time to
Oh, love.
here on Facebook Live and YouTube Live. Mr. Shaw, I almost said it's Monday. I am 4 years pre-programmed to say Monday, 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 and I really want Mondays back. So I am fighting for my Mondays back because I just feel like pull-up should be on Monday.
This feel normal. It feel
It feels
natural.
normal. But we are pulling up on a Tuesday with breaking news, like late in the day, but we're getting to you the same day. So we are talking Calvin Ridley suspension. We are talking Aaron Rodgers contract extension, and we're talking Russell Wilson trade. All in 48 hours. So let's start with Calvin Ridley. The problem is we need some more interns so that I could go back to the archives and remember what conversation we just talked about gambling.
Mm-hmm.
And people would say, people think we're crazy anyway.
Yeah, what
most
it is.
people, most people, what did you say? We are the villains. The three of us are literally the villains in most universes because people think we're crazy when we say stuff. They think we're just talking to be talking. We just talked about baseball. We talked about the Hall of Fame. We talked about sports, gambling, betting, FanDuel, sports book, and now a professional
I'm familiar
football.
with all of it.
You're familiar with all of it. And now a
Yeah.
professional football player has been suspended for gambling.
And they didn't say how long,
Oh, he
the
did.
number of
He got 16 games. He got the season.
oh, he got season.
He got the
Well, no,
season.
he didn't get a season because it's 17 game seasons. All right.
17. He's
He
gonna
can
miss
get
the whole.
one game in.
He's not.
He gonna miss 98% of it. I mean, look, he said he bet $1,500. I don't believe that. You didn't risk a whole season of football on $1,500, right? 150,000 maybe, not $1,500. So it's you got to be smart what you're doing. I don't think he the first. He's not the first. Like they're not gonna sell me that Calvin Ridley is the first person to ever bet on the football game. All these years, all this money that these athletes have had, and we know they like to gamble. I like to gamble. I'm broke, so I know if they got money, they like to gamble. Like, and I ain't saying no more, no less because it's not like here on pull up we trying to indict y'all or say y'all need to go back and check those. That's not what we saying. We just saying like, bro, realistically, like, is this really a big like y'all really feel like Calvin really was the first player to ever bet on a football game that was in the NFL? Okay,
But,
okay.
but so and you say that, right? So remember, I left out the headline, right? On pull up, we talk about the headline. The headline is
Mm-hmm.
Calvin Ridley was gambling. But the
Mm-hmm.
reality is we'd already talked about sports gambling, and that's the reason Pete Rose will never go in the Hall of Fame in baseball. He's one of the greatest catchers to ever do it. And I stay on my Pete Rose. I'm always advocating for Pete Rose because
As you should.
these NBA, if I'm not mistaken, the Houston Rockets owner has stake in the Golden Nugget in Vegas. These owners have stake in these hotels. Gambling is a part of basketball culture now. We see the picks. FanDuel, you are connected. The NFL is making
They
money
do it on TNT.
on TNT now. The NFL is making money. The
So,
Raiders are now in Las Vegas. Miss me with the foolishness. Yes, sir.
so even with FanDuels, they have a chance where you can win some money. They say if you pick the right picks of how many points a player will score through the court, in a quarter, under, over, how many steals, assists, what team had this, had that. Like they're, you know what I'm saying? Like so, people are able to bet on me, but I'm not able to bet on myself. But again, Calvin, really, you should just play this smarter, my brother.
There
That's
is no
that's
playing
that's
smart. The only way you play it smart is that, and you can't, because right when these people that you think you cool with, you fall out with, they tell on you too. The reality is
not fair.
athletes are not supposed to be gambling on themselves. We watched The Last Dance with Michael Jordan, and we watched them gamble on the plane. We know that they play Blu-ray. Like we know that Michael Jordan has had, Charles Barkley, they stay in the casinos. Athletes have been gambling since gambling before they could even gamble. That was shooting dice in the locker room before football practice. So I just cannot respect the fact that you suspended an athlete and you have an entire team in Vegas. What do people do in Vegas? You think what you call it don't have stake in?
So is a football
Mark
player
Davis?
not allowed? So is a football player not allowed to gamble on hockey?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Is a hockey player not like? Because
But
again,
they
my
do.
thing.
But they do. You have sports teams in, like, let's not forget you have sports teams in Las
Let's
Vegas.
be realistic. You don't have to even. You don't even. Because again, I don't know what Calvin really did, bro. You could. If I had money, and, you know, I knew. My partner used to gamble on my name, right? If he didn't want to deal with the bookie, he was so you can't tell me that he couldn't have gave it to Atlanta Hawk. Hey, bro, put this on us to lose. Well, you know what I'm saying? Whatever the case may be, and like I'm not. He got to be smart. Whatever he did to get caught, I didn't read the story because it was like I hate to see black men make bad mistakes. It's just like, you know what I'm saying. You are compiling the thought of us if we make bad mistakes and we're not smart. But you know, not to knock Calvin really. He'll grow from it. He'll learn. But yeah, there's I don't understand I don't really understand how you police it because all I got to do is give it to somebody to bet, and
But you're
even
not
if you go back
policing
through.
it. He used his cell phone. So it was
Mm,
traceable. And again, these
mm.
are usually when the NFL responds, and
So why was it trace? Why did they choose to trace
but
that?
okay, so because they only respond when there's a story in the making. So in order for the
Mm-hmm,
NFL to get ahead of it, I guarantee you there was a story. Someone else knew
mm-hmm,
he had gambled. Someone else, because you do audits, right? And these things come across the databases. He used his cell phone to gamble. For me, it's not about Calvin Ridley's mistake. We make mistakes every single day, and unfortunately, there will continue to be. I mean, look at Vegas, the Raiders. Since the Raiders have got there, how much has happened with just the Raiders players? So yes, I hate to see African American males make bad decisions that people can put targets on them, but I could really care less about Calvin Ridley gambling, getting a full season as we've stated, and you've had professional athletes that have gone to jail for domestic violence, beating up people. Ben Roethlisberger was accused of rape, and they've done less time, twice. So at the end of the day, I care less about Calvin Ridley gambling.
same not supplement, but same drug was found in the second victim system as well. So
So at the end of the day, somebody was going to leak a story. The NFL got ahead of it. They suspended him. You know, I call BS. As long as the Raiders are playing football in Vegas, I don't want. I think it's the NBA. The WNBA has a team in Vegas. There's a hockey team in Vegas. Don't talk to me about gambling. Because anybody's ever gone to Vegas, there's only so much you can do. Sex, drugs, and rock and roll, baby. Gambling is the part of that. That's what you do in Vegas.
mm-hmm.
So moving on, you know, wishing him a chance to figure it out while you got some downtime. You took time off last year to focus on your mental health. I'm sure you even more so got to focus on your mental health now to get it resolved. And knowing professional sports the way I do, this story was from last year, and that's probably why he took time off this year for mental health, so that it wouldn't be an
That's
issue.
why the Falcons said they were hesitant. They didn't trade him because they knew he was getting suspended.
Basically. So there's one story that I did not have tied into the notes that we do need to talk about. Currently, we've started to stay away from news on this show just because it got so heavy. Like we were 4 years in of like, woo, you gotta watch
Donald J.
it. Yeah, you don't want the files to pull up later and you be canceled. But right now, the world, Ukraine and Russia, it's not even a war. Russia is bullying Ukraine currently. I said what I said, and I mean what I say, and better not nobody say nothing to me about it. That's what's happening. And currently, Brittany Griner is detained in Russia where she has been since February the 5th. So for over a month now, Brittany Griner has been detained. This is a story that the New York Times broke this past weekend on Saturday. And it sounds like Russia made sure we knew which American basketball player had been detained. And I've seen all kinds of comments and commentary. Mr. Shaw, I'm going to speak my piece quickly on this. Please remember, African Americans, that we are in the middle. Russia is in the middle of bullying Ukraine. So Brittany Griner, America, we have U.S. embassies that have to be contacted. America was aware that Brittany Griner was being detained. But being that we are trying to stay out of the middle of a war, you have to move very carefully with these type of situations. We can't just run up over there on Russia right now. And unfortunately, someone at the level of Brittany Griner is collateral damage, because we have to play this very smart. We just cut off energy imports from Russia to the U.S. We've turned Russia's money off. We are part of the sanctions that are coming against them. The only thing that I would advise African Americans is to stop getting up in arms, because we want to make everything race related. And that is probably a part of the strategy from the bully. We need to understand that when we go into Rome, we need to act like the Romans. And the only thing that we can do for her right now as Americans is pray for her. And that's my take on that. Bad situation. As you said about Calvin Ridley, we hate to see these athletes put themselves in compromising situations from just not being knowledgeable. And being an educator, I think a lot of it is about knowledge. Do I believe that Brittany Griner had done this before? Possibly. But do I believe that it was intentional to get her now? I don't think it's coincidental.
I think it's like you say, it's one of those situations where you have to be very careful with what you do dealing with a bully. You know, last regime and the bully had they understand they compromised. New regime and the bully don't have that same. So, you know, and with them being cut off and them already bullying, so of course we have to take a very political strategy at it, because you can't just go in there guns blazing together. Um, but we got to be smart, and I can't. Again, I don't judge people because I don't make the best decisions, but you just got to be smarter. Like, and her being, her being lesbian also might have led into some of that. Different countries, different understandings. The world is not as open as the world is not as open to freedom as everybody as the rest of the world is. The rest of the world, they're not as understanding as America. And again, I'll say this: it's forcing on everybody. Not to say it's a bad thing, but there's a lot of forcing going on in America with people's beliefs and opinions. And other countries aren't like that. Other countries are, this is how we are, this is how it is. And who's to say they're right? So anyway, not touching too much on that, but Brittany Griner, we can only pray for her. And again, of course, I think we always are going to have the problem with black and white. What we need to do as black is to be understanding that, sometimes we need to listen and hear what's going on, even if we're not listening to the ones closest, because everybody doesn't know what they're talking about. A lot of us take our information but don't go study our information, right? Like a lot of us are only getting secondhand information. We're not going to get the information for ourselves. So we're taking information from people, and then we're arguing with people about information, and you don't even really know what's your truth. You only know secondhand information. So, but we're still not gonna be able to get some of us to go get that firsthand information. And all we can do is pray for Brittany Griner, right? Because it's hard to preach.
It brings another conversation that America doesn't want to deal with.
There are so many conversations that America doesn't want to deal with.
We have to deal
my
with
TikTok. My TikTok was a comment, and it's funny to me at this point, just touching on it. I've heard clout chasing, used her for fame, and it's all people who don't look like me, right? And the few who do look like me and said, it's like you're not for the culture. It's nobody wants to have that true conversation that sometimes you put yourself in positions and people are able to fire at you however they choose, right? Because you put your and nobody gets that. Saying certain things put you in the line of fire, right?
Doing certain things put you in a line of fire. And and that's the things we're saying. And right now, with Brittany Griner being detained in Russia, the conversation during Women's History Month about pay is back on the table because there's no reason that American women basketball players have to go play in Russia. How is it that Russia has $1 million to give athletes and America doesn't? How is it that the New York Liberty got fined for chartering a flight for their players? Like, let's have these real conversations that you've been keeping off the table. Brittany Griner has been playing in Russia her entire career. That's what women basketball players do. They play in Russia. Diana Taurasi played for the Russian team. The guy that used to do business with her, he was murdered not so long ago. Russia is not a good place to do business as Americans. We don't like each other, right? Let's get some history lessons. Understand that Ukraine used to be a part of the Soviet Union, the USSR that broke up, and literally Putin is bullying to get it back. But these American basketball players were last minute. It was February 5th. She was just getting out. So we knew with American intelligence, Joe Biden got on national TV and told everybody, listen, as my girl says, legal hype, Putin was coming for the Yukis. He was coming. We knew this. So why were American basketball players allowed to even stay over there? Well, because they can't violate their contracts either. So you get a catch-22. And that's the thing about chasing money. We've got to understand that sometimes I'd have told Russia, baby, you can keep that contract, baby. I'd have ran them their money back so quick. You can have it. You can have it. But I would have been back in the United States on American soil in January. When we first started getting the updates. So I think America did a terrible job of protecting Americans because there should have been no American over there. We should have figured out how to negotiate these contracts. And you can say they're adults and they have agents. That's a bunch of bullshit in the words of my father. That's a bunch of bullshit.
This is now a political situation.
And Americans should have been they should have been gone. Like, listen, you're in the WNBA, but this is politics.
At least at the embassy.
This is the diplomats. You need to get on a plane and you need to get out of there today. And we need to talk about.
There are definitely American embassies in Russia, correct?
Exactly. There's a U.S. embassy in every nation. You always,
because
there's
problems, you get to United Nations. That's why we're the United Nations. So, with me knowing that, and I'm not the most brilliant man in the world, why weren't they already at the embassy would be my question.
Well, they just needed to get on the plane and get out. They didn't need to go to the embassy. But what should have been done was America should have figured out how to negotiate those contracts and seen what penalties. Like, you should have said you need to, because we can't, with the way that these bombs are being dropped and the way they're taking over, like, there's no protection. People have been underground. They've got power off in certain places in Ukraine. Like, you can't, I can't do anything. So with us being in the middle of this, and in order to avoid American hostages, is basically what it becomes, collateral damage to get America involved. We're trying to stay out. We're like, listen, Ukraine, we'll send you fighter. We'll send you some weapons. We'll send you some manpower. We'll help evacuate you, Ukraine. But we're not trying to come in here and get involved. And China didn't call, Russia didn't call their homeboy China. And China didn't say, we're going to level up too. America's trying to stay out of this to the best of our abilities. So in order to stay out of stuff, you got to get Americans out. And we did evacuate Americans. And we did tell Americans to get to the embassy. But the WNBA players, this is survival. This is bills. Like, their mortgage still needs to be paid. Their car still needs to be paid for. Their mama's house still needs to be paid for. They count on this income.
Okay.
And nobody wants to owe contracts. And that's the way that people are being restricted, is because they need you. So they stay jeopardizing their life in order not to jeopardize their livelihood.
It's crazy. It's crazy we put people in
We're
these
not
type of
saying,
scenarios and situations.
yeah, we're not saying that Brittany Griner, who's one of the greatest female basketball players to ever play, we're not saying she should have a LeBron James contract, but should she be making $228,000 a year? And Russia has $1 million to give her?
Don't seem right.
Meanwhile, Aaron Rodgers just signed a 4-year deal for $200 million, and he's 38 years old. Now, I ain't knocking the old people because me and Aaron Rodgers are right there in that same category. But my body is not required for me to work a job. So giving me 4 years of $200 million, I'm still good. My hands work, my eyes work, my feet work. But Aaron Rodgers is 38 years old. I ain't mad you wouldn't got your money. But $200 million for 4 years, he's 38. We're thinking now Tom Brady is the new standard for age. Is that where we're going with this?
Mm. I gotta. He hadn't had no fallout. Still had an MVP type caliber season. I had him on my fantasy league, my fantasy team. If I had a chance, I'd do it again. I mean, you know what you're getting. It
What
also
are
gives
you?
you 4 years to. I mean, you're not guaranteed the Super Bowl or nothing, but you get to the playoffs.
He's 38. He was hurt the season before last.
You
And I'm
don't
not, and
believe in
again,
what else you got.
I'm just playing devil's advocate, right? Do I think there are 5 quarterbacks out there that are better than him right now at this point? I don't. I think that Aaron Rodgers is definitely worth the money. But this is also a conversation we had when Dak Prescott got his money. He just set the bar for where quarterback pay is. So if he got 200 million, you got to pay everybody
Everybody
else.
getting paid.
Meanwhile, in Dallas,
Every
Dak's contract is being restructured. His and Zach Martin's to open up salary cap room because I told everybody that Jerry Jones wasn't going to pay him all his money anyway.
Yeah, and they got to figure some things out because they got some holes and they need to fix some things. But Aaron Rodgers, the Green Bay Packers have only had 2 quarterbacks for the past 22 years, maybe even longer. No,
I mean,
past 30
all of my
years.
life has been Brett Favre or Aaron Rodgers.
So
They're the only ones I know. It looks as though Mr. Shaw is having technical difficulties. If you were just joining us, we are talking about Aaron Rodgers just signed a 4-year, $200 million contract. He will stay in Green Bay. Mr. Shaw is back. Go ahead and finish your thought. Oh, he's gone. So for me, I think that Aaron Rodgers just pushed the bar a lot higher than most of the quarterbacks in the NFL are qualified for because I think that a lot of them are subpar. Tom Brady was the GOAT in that aspect at this point. So we're just raising the money bar. Go ahead, Shaw.
I was just saying the Packers might believe in Jordan Love, just need more time with him. At this point, I really feel like when you got a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers, you stick with him until like with the Patriots. They rolled with Tom Brady till he couldn't ride no more. And they gave him another 4 years. So until Aaron Rodgers don't want to play football, no, let him play. Let him play. How much better are you going to be without him is the question.
I don't think that Jordan Love is ready to do it, but it's the same situation of when Brett Favre left and Aaron Rodgers came in. People had the same conversations. My question is, and we go back to it, and as you go back, we have a situation in Houston where they're holding Deshaun Watson hostage. He can't get out of there. He's waiting to see if criminal charges are going to be brought against him. But when we talk about great quarterbacks, and like I said, Aaron Rodgers is 38 years old. I like Aaron Rodgers. I do. I think Aaron Rodgers is one of the best to do it. But when you keep moving that money market bar, we are definitely now paying quarterbacks who are not worth it because the market is projected at 200 million now in a 4-year period, which means I can come in and ask you for that. You can tell me no, but that's where the market is set of what's available to give to a quarterback.
And I agree. I agree. That's what Joe Burrow gonna ask for when it's his time to get paid. and he gonna get that.
He's gonna get it.
Now the
What's his
quarterback for
name?
the Patriots, he not gonna get that.
Mac Jones isn't gonna get it,
He
but
ain't gonna get that
Allen
because they don't
is.
pay quarterbacks like that.
Allen is gonna
Tom
get it.
Brady ain't never get that.
Well, Tom Brady always took pay cuts, but he made enough to take a pay cut. Like,
Yeah, but yeah,
you
the
know,
rest
that's
of
the balancing act. He sacrificed to win. And so most players like me, I don't care enough about winning at this point at that kind of money to sacrifice my long-term investments for
I'm gonna
financial
be
gain
honest. I'm
for a
gonna be
team.
honest. 35 mil and I get 100 guaranteed. I'll sacrifice $10 million so we can win. Because again, if I'm getting 35, if I'm getting 35 million, I got endorsement deal on top of endorsement deal on top of endorsement deal. I'm a business. I'm a, it's a rapper. I'm an LLC at this point. I don't need you, so I can take this 35 and I can take that 35 and flip it. But I'm getting paid from Nike. I'm getting a water deal. I got a Powerade. Like I'm not gonna say as an athlete you being selfish because that's your life and you do what you want. But there's no need because I want to win. Like I'm LeBron. I want to win. I'm
I mean, I
Kobe.
said I
I want
didn't
to
want to
win.
win. I said I didn't want to win, but I
Because
want to win.
if I can ask for 45, that means I can take 35 and then go flip, not worry about the other 10. Cause like Steph don't have to take 40 mil. Like if
Well,
they
Steph
said we was
doesn't have
trying
to
to
take 40 mil, but what about the owner not taking 40 mil? Like, that's all that I'm saying. Like, when he gonna
no no
take a pay?
no no no
That's
no no
always
no
how I'm
no.
like thinking.
Look, the boss never take a pay cut. Remember that. Because when you in
Exactly.
the
And so
because when you in the because when you in the head of your situation and you got a star player, you're not gonna be taking pay cut. Why am I taking a pay cut? I'm the boss. I done built this shit up. I'm not taking no pay cut, right? So I understand why a boss would never take a pay cut. Steph took pay cuts for KD,
he did.
right?
He
So
did.
so you know he's an unselfish player. So
Oh yeah.
I'm just saying I'm not calling somebody selfish if they get paid. Get paid. Dolph said the best get paid, young nigga get paid, right? I ain't mad at you, but if we're talking winning, I'm gonna take 10 million less because I know what I'm worth and I know what I'm gonna go get in the street. So I can go do Huggies commercials with my kids. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I
hey Huggies,
agree.
what y'all get? You know what I'm saying? Like, once you have a name, there's so many. All you gotta do is say you want to do it. And people feel like they're gonna make money off of you, they're gonna come talk to you.
I agree. I agree. So Russell Wilson is headed to Denver. I feel like he's gonna be the first black quarterback there. How many black quarterbacks has Denver had?
Teddy Bridgewater,
He was there for a little minute.
he there right now.
Yeah,
He
a
got
little
it.
minute. A little minute. Russell Wilson is headed. So Russell Wilson is headed to
He
Denver.
could have just said last week he wasn't trading Russell Wilson. He just said that last week. Just said it last week. That's
So
why. That's why I'm glad I'm not in the media. But so what I've learned about doing sports and studying, it's always gonna be hard for a podcast like us with sports because we don't have those credentials. You know what I'm saying? We don't know any athletes. We're not up in smoke. We're not, Baron Davis, Gilbert Arenas. We're not nobody like that, right? So we always gonna have problems. So once we get in the dough, we put the time and effort in. But it's more so what?
I'm just following you. I'm following you. I'm listening.
So it's more so at the point where like the fact that we work so hard that we're gonna get there. But Russell Wilson being the first, not first, but Russell Wilson going to you. I said that to say that you can't listen to what they tell you unless you're on the inside, all right? Because just last week we was being told that Russell Wilson wasn't being traded, all right? So the information we get, we got to take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah, but again, it's some of this is not about what you tell me. Some of this is about understanding, reading the market. There would have never been conversation about Russell Wilson being traded if Russell Wilson didn't want out of Seattle for
Fact.
whatever reasons. And again, if you pull up the podcast, if this is your first time listening, your first time tuning in, you can find us previous episodes on whatever platform you get your podcast, as well as on YouTube. But we've had this conversation. This goes back to front office management. You know, you go, he's a Super Bowl champion. He got there again. We didn't give Marshawn Lynch the football to give him 2 Super Bowls. You want to win. And when I'm constantly His offensive line has been terrible for the last 2 years. It was a situation of you're not doing anything to make this better for me to win. So once you're no longer making this a situation where I have opportunity to win, why am I still here? You can't waste and that's the thing. Like Aaron Rodgers is 38. You got to get the pieces in here so that I can give it a chance one last time. But if I'm minus the pieces, there's absolutely nothing I can do with this franchise. And at this point in Russell Wilson's career, he understands Seattle's franchise. He understands the ownership. He understands the coaching. He knows what pieces you're going to get. He knows what you've been talking about for your draft board for next month when it's draft time. And they're not substantial to me. So Pete Carroll can get in front of the camera and say whatever he wants to say to make it sound good. Mm-hmm. Everybody knew Russell Wilson was out of there because the situation is no longer conducive for me.
They said the Commanders offered 3 first-round picks. They were just trying to get him out of the NFC.
I'm sorry. With all the stuff going on there, who wants to sign up to go be a commander with all the drama? No one needs to walk into chaos. And that's what you and I talked about earlier with Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence inherited a Jacksonville situation where his rookie season was all a distraction. Urban Meyer
got fired like game 4.
You say what?
Your coach should have been fired like the 4th game of the season.
Exactly. So there's no way that Russell Wilson, a veteran at his stature, takes a job with the Commanders with the type of shambles and chaos that takes place in that organization. So we mentioned Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson, I don't know. I don't know if he's guilty. I don't know if he's innocent. I just know that he's stressed. Because if he's not stressed, I'm stressed for him. The last episode, y'all forgive us. If you're pull-up fans, forgive us. I am going to try and get the episodes back up on the platforms so that you can listen to them uninterrupted without commercials. But the last episode that I uploaded was the conversation last May about Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson is occupying our conversations continuously the same way that I feel like Kanye has for the last 5 years. Because I feel like for 5 years, all I've talked about is Kanye. And now for the last 2, Deshaun Watson has been the conversation because it's a never-ending cycle of this stuff will not go away. It's not going away.
They come with a verdict. They haven't said what they're
going to do. Well, he's just now going in front of the grand jury this Friday. So some of the women who've accused him of sexual assault is being subpoenaed to appear in front of the grand jury. The grand jury in Houston then will make a decision of whether or not they will pick up charges against him. So it's a long, drawn-out process.
It's a sticky situation.
And, you're wasting talent. Like and this is when people say, well, mental health. Well, if you got all this going on, your mental health. And like I said, I don't know guilt or innocence. I just know that, Bill Cosby's case got overturned too. And I do believe that Bill Cosby had some indiscretions. And if you're not watching the Hugh Hefner documentary, Hugh Hefner was a walking, living pimp in plain sight. Hugh Hefner was inappropriate as well. So men tend to be inappropriate with women because they do. And women tend to find themselves in situations that are compromising with these men for whatever reason that they do. But at what point do we say, yeah, at what point do we get it in front of a jury and make a decision so that we're not holding someone's life up in limbo?
Because that man ain't played football in a year and a half. We don't want to be a second year. So, yeah, you want something to come about. You want some understanding. Is he guilty? Is he not guilty? Is he going to get time? Is he not going to get time? No. Let this man live his life. I feel you on that. And again, like you say, what men got to realize, what men need to be realistic with women about, don't play with it. Like, you came to my room, what are you about? Because if you came to talk, you can leave. And now, she was a masseuse. They're masseuse. So I don't know what Deshaun was on. Like you said, I stand on that. I'm not saying the women was nothing. I do want to say the women in Bill Cosby case, unless he took it from you in the bathroom, the car, in the bar, in the room. Now, if you was in the room and he didn't put a pill in your drink, why were you in the room? That's my question. I'm not blaming you, but my question is, if you didn't want that, why would you go to a man's room by yourself? A woman, not a woman, but those women, Lois Lane, because I call them Lois Lane's damsel in distress. Lois Lane always needed Superman to save her. A damsel in distress will say, "Well, I didn't know exactly what was going to happen."
But see, and here's my thing, right? We're saying the same thing nicely. As you say, Lois Lane's. I am sick of and I do believe that there are some men that have predatory behavior. Okay.
Facts.
Bill
Facts.
Cosby, the Me Too movement has exposed that a lot of these men because money equals power.
Facts.
And money and power allow men to be able to have access to women that they can have sex with. And these are
Facts.
conversations that we need to teach our daughters because some of these people with power, like Bill Cosby, Jello pudding pop.
See, and what I'm not worried about is I'm working hard so that she see a man with money. So money not gonna mean nothing to her. A lot of these girls ain't never had, and like rappers say, a name and a chain, and they'll go wild.
Right, but it's also about
And
teaching
I'm
your
ready to
daughters.
test that theory out. Because
It's
I
all about
want to see,
teaching
is
your
it really
daughters.
just a name? Oh, he got a name in the chain. And again,
But
it's
that's
teaching your
reality.
daughters.
A lot of this is about teaching your
People,
daughters
people don't want to
to
talk
have a
about that.
moral compass.
If you say that to women, that's not true.
To teach your daughters to have a moral compass. To teach your daughters to have some respect for themselves. Some of this, like, come to your room, come to your house. Why y'all don't have teams? Why are you moving around by yourself like that? Like, some of this stuff is just like, nah, bruh. Who does this? And when you watch these documentaries, like with the Playboy Mansion, people, again, people will sacrifice self for finances. People are scared to walk away. People are faithless. You know, people were saying, well, it was my job. I was raped at work and I went back to work the next day and act like nothing happened. He came to my room and he forced his way inside. As you said, you're showing up to people's hotel rooms. You don't know, like, what do you go
Now
to the
him coming
hotel
to
room to
now
do?
him coming to her room and forcing his way on her is rape. But her
And
going to
and
his
she should
room,
have walked away from the company. So when companies allow people to
mm,
do these things to you, at what point do you and I know that women are afraid that people won't believe them. I get it. But you go back into these same environments. You repeat the same behavior when you listen to some of these people. You allow people to pimp you. A lot of this becomes you're being pimped. As you say, you're so excited about being with Deshaun Watson.
mm-hmm.
Um, why didn't you make sure that there was because a lot of these hotel rooms and Airbnbs, you could bring your team. So yes, when you're conducting his massage, there should be a level of privacy, but you also have to feel comfortable. When do you say you're not comfortable? And to me, you can't say you're not comfortable after you engage in inappropriate behavior and things aren't going your way and now you're mad. And I think that women have to be accountable if we can't prove that what you said is 100% factual. So this is not
Mm-hmm.
about believing you. This is about having some facts. This is about being credible. This is about not being like a previous situation where there was a rape allegation of a particular athlete and you had semen from another man in your underpants.
Hmm.
I can't take you. I don't know. I don't know if I can believe you because you're nasty.
And
This
nobody
is
trying to
your
say that,
behavior
and nobody saying that you're lying, but it's just hard to believe
to
in.
believe. And
I
that's
I think Go ahead. I think it's just I think it's one of those. There are real topics that so many people don't want to discuss because you have to be honest about the situation. And I seen a post that said everybody knows rape victims, but nobody knows the predators because they don't brag about that, right? And if they do brag about that, that's a group of weird friends who don't want nobody to know that they're weird. Like, cause I've never heard. There's never been any. Oh, y'all raped her. There's not a high five for that. There's not a congratulations for that. There's not a that's cool. There's not no like. The, so I don't want rape victims to think that we just out here. Oh yeah. No, bro. No man. Me personally, I don't speak for me, and I speak for me. I've never had a nigga. I've never had a person come to me and say we raped her, and I gave them a high five for that. Right? Because I've never heard nobody come to me and say we raped them because it's frowned upon.
Or even to hear it, right? If somebody tells me that somebody that I'm associated with raped them, I'm going to, first of all, I'm going to ask questions. I don't put anything past anybody, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
probably, if I suspect that any of this is possibly true, I'm probably not going to be around you because I know what you're
Facts.
capable of. And that's
Facts.
the reality. I don't need to be your victim to know that you're capable of this. So when people say stuff, other people need to know who these people are, right? Because you're also not telling people who these predators
Mm.
are. You still seem to conceal their identity, right? And this is about self-esteem. This is about confidence. This is about money. Like a lot of these situations that women get themselves in have to do with money. No one is coming to save you, sis. Like I need
Mm-hmm.
women to understand that more than anything else in the world. He said he could help me. Why he gonna help you? Of all the and that's all that I want women to understand. I don't want people to have I guess I've been told a hardened exterior like I have, but I do need you to be realistic. I do need you ladies to be honest with yourself. I need us to make better judgment decisions. Better judgment decisions. I need us to teach our daughters that all money ain't good money. I need us to understand that even some of these men you talk to, you shouldn't be in the room by yourself with them. Because there are some men that get off on being I can power. Sexual assault is about power. Having the
Agreed.
power to be stronger than that person, having the power to manipulate them mentally to believe that no one else will believe them. We need to have these conversations so that young ladies understand that just because Deshaun Watson reached out to you doesn't mean he should be your client.
Mm-hmm.
And if y'all are all in Houston, you can't tell me it's that many of you guys that no one knows each other, no one talks. And then you can't sleep with Deshaun Watson or give him oral sex and then say it was rape. Because if you put it in your mouth and he did not grab you by your throat and hold your neck with a gun to your head, did he really force you? Coercion and forcing are two different things. Suggesting it to you, we got to be big enough. I'd be like, do what? You want me to do
And
what?
and somebody coercing you into something is not right. They talked you into
And but I'd have been talking to him like,
it.
I
Yeah.
I came here to do a massage. This is not the best little whorehouse in Texas. What's wrong? Like, you gotta be able to come back. And that's what people don't like about black women, baby. If I'm not playing with you, I'm not playing with you. I don't care who you are. I ain't playing with you. Bill Cosby, you're not a real doctor. Why are you giving me pills? What?
That's something your daddy would do.
What's wrong with you? Anyway, guys, final conversation. This is a history piece. Finally, we got the lynching bill passed, the Emmett Till lynching bill passed all these years later that lynching is now a hate crime in the United States. So this is just a little small tip for those who listen around the world to understand that Emmett Till was a young 14-year-old from Chicago that had gone down to visit family in Money, Mississippi. And the death of Emmett Till kind of kicked off the civil rights movement in the late 50s, going into the 60s. Emmett Till was taken from his family's house. He was killed. His family later found his body. His mother chose to publicly to have an open casket funeral so that the world could see what had been done to her son. His killers were got off because he was accused of whistling at a white woman. So, for those of you who are not educated, please understand as African Americans, when you go to Lois Lane or Karen Mode, we will react with you differently because we understand the history of what becomes of us. So whether
Mm-hmm.
it's Emmett Till or it's Black Wall Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma, destruction occurs. when you falsely accuse people of things that they did not do. And those same people who victimize you, who are also your oppressors, are universal oppressors. So we got to do a better job of understanding history and understanding why people respond the way they do. Lynching is a federal hate crime at this point. It took long enough. And if you're old enough to remember here in Texas, down in Jasper, James Byrd was drugged by the back of a car as well. So shout out to Mamie Till. There is a documentary, I think, there's a documentary out where Mamie Till, they detail kind of the story of Emmett Till. His mother, Mamie Till, fought from the time that her son was murdered to her death of getting some of these bills passed and making sure that things were changed. So, Mr. Shaw, you got anything for the people?
You know, when we speak on Black history, Emmett Till, that's not any other culture should be, but we're for the culture, and we are unapologetically for the culture. So we feel we have no need to apologize. Right? This is information that you need for the ones who want to be understood by the culture. Not, I can't be accepting people who don't got the skin tone of the culture. But if you want to be understood by the culture, this is something you need to understand. Um, I think I think Black history or history from Emmett Till, a lot of white people don't know and don't want to talk about, because that means you have to not approve, but not identify, but actually see what's going on. The tough conversation, right?
You
You
have to
gotta
acknowledge that it occurred.
you have to
You
acknowledge,
have to acknowledge that your
and
cousin
they feel like if
behaved like that.
they don't acknowledge, then it never happened. Right? So we're at the point where we need the people who want respect from the culture and understanding from the culture to acknowledge the things that have happened to the culture. Don't just love our music and not know where we come from, right? And
Well,
I think that
I
is my
understand what you're listening to, right? I had a student in school. It's a long story, but he's Kanye. He'll rap new Kanye stuff, and he's going off, and he was like, "I'm about to go off," and so he's singing, and Kanye is talking about Naomi Campbell and Kerry Washington. I said, "Do you know who Naomi Campbell and Kerry Washington is?" Silence.
of
You're
course I do.
listening, but you don't even understand the references in the song. So you can't
Mm-hmm.
really listen. You know, Kanye referenced Emmett Till in Through the Wire. You can't really go off with Kanye because you don't know who Emmett Till is. So we're constantly trying to enlighten and
You can't understand the swole face.
you don't even understand the music. You just listening to it. So understand
Mm-hmm.
and catch some of this culture, understand and catch some of this history, because we out here trying to make the world a better place. Like, if anybody should be racist and not like somebody else, it's Black people. We shouldn't like nobody. We should be the ones who's like, nope, you can't sit at the table with us. But even in still, we are always trying to build a bridge and allow someone else to cross. And I think that
Mm-hmm.
the reference with Emmett Till and this bill comes back to the fact of people forget that it could be your son. People, because if people can get away with it, remember Trayvon Martin, remember Ahmaud Arbery. So Emmett Till ain't yesterday's news. Trayvon Martin was Emmett Till. Ahmaud Arbery was Emmett Till. They were killed by white males. And Ahmaud Arbery's killers, we finally got a little bit of justice. And I
Mm-hmm.
said what I said, and I mean what I say. Emmett Till was a 14-year-old, and you should go look at the pictures of what his face looked like when it was done. So for a mother to have to find her child, for people to believe that lynching is hanging people was ever okay. Like, just to think about where we started and where we had to put a bill in to make it a federal hate crime in this day and age. It's sad.
It's sad.
And these are the things. There's a reason why we go off, because you're
Mm-hmm.
playing with us still. So I want us, here we talk for the culture. I just encourage African Americans to educate yourself. I encourage our listeners from across the world, India, Germany. I've seen people from multiple countries listening to our show. I hope that some of the references that we're giving you, you can take them, go Google, learn, and understand. Because in order for the world to be a better place, we have to have understanding of each other.
Mm-hmm.
We have to, you have to understand with Ukrainians in any country right now, their level of intensity is extremely high because their family members are being murdered. It's not going to go away. They're not going to forget in 30 years that they had to flee their country because their country was being taken over.
Facts.
So we've got to understand our history, and we've got to understand why people behave and act the way they do. Y'all, that's all I got for you tonight. I ain't going to preach because I feel like I'm about to take y'all to church on a Tuesday. So it's your girl, CandiKlynn.
And your boy ShawTime Shaw, aka the Fat Mama.
And until next week,
we out. Pull up.